Hey everybody, here's your perimeter video. This is your first actual math video of the year, so make sure that you have the note page out, and on the top it says perimeter homework number 1. It is for the perimeter video number 1. Here we go. So perimeter, what does perimeter mean? Perimeter means the distance around the outside of a two-dimensional shape. It can be any two-dimensional shape. 2 dimensions just means it has length and width. It can be any shape. You're going to see that here in a sec. So perimeter means we're going around the outside of something, the outside. So here you can check the arrows and see that. Think of those solid lines that go around the outside. That's how I think of it. It's not the green stuff on the inside. It's the solid lines around the outside. Here's an example. If we take a football field is clearly a rectangle. We're saying that the length, the long side of a football field is 120 yards. Remember, the end zones each have 10 yards in them. And we're showing you the width as 53 1/3 yards. Might not have known that. So if the width is 53 1/3 yards, if we know that's on the left side, the right side's got to be the same thing. It's got to be the 53 1/3 yards if this is a rectangle. And if the top, the length is 120, then the bottom length has to be 120. That is a simple example of perimeter. Perimeter shows the distance around the outside. Now, we haven't calculated the perimeter here. To calculate the perimeter, we would need to add those sides up, and that's what we're going to do next. So perimeter means the distance around the outside of a two-dimensional shape. So to your notes. There is your definition. So please write the definition of perimeter, please. Remember, you can always stop. You can always stop this and go back. Be sure to do that because I'm going to go fast. If we know the length is 5 and the width is 2, we know the opposite length is 5 and the opposite width is 2. So we're going to determine the distance around the outside here. We're going to determine the perimeter. So here's a little visual to kind of help you out. This helps me out when I see things actually happen. Let's show you that one more time. We are measuring the distance around the outside. Okay, so how are you going to calculate that? We're thinking mathematically now. So to calculate that, we are going to find the sum. Please write that down. Sum. What does the sum mean? What does the sum mean? Sum means to add. So we're going to add the 4 sides of this rectangle up. You can add them up like I've written them here if you want. And that's not really all that difficult. But if it were me, I would do 2 5s. In my head, I would say 2 5s are 10, and I would do 2 2s, which are 4. Any which way, we're going to find that the perimeter is 14 feet. Notice what I did here. I labeled the 14 with feet, and I wrote a P equals because that P stands for perimeter. Somebody else looks at this, they know what I'm talking about. P equals 14 feet. Okay, now let's practice that one that's on your paper. Looks like this. Before you do this, however, what's different about this one? These are decimals. So, we're still finding the perimeter, so the opposite of the length is the same, the opposite of the width is the same, nothing there has changed. We're still trying to find the measurement around the outside, but we have decimals to add up. So, how are we going to do that? Let's do a quick refresher course on how to add decimals. A synonym for adding is sum. A synonym for subtract is difference. You might want to write those down. Those are very important. If I want to add these two, so you don't have to write this down, you're watching and learning. What I need to do, the most important thing here is to line up the decimals. Line them up, line them up, line them up. So, whoops, I went too fast there. So if I line these decimals up, this is how they look. It doesn't matter which number's on top. Makes no difference as long as those decimals are lined up. The word for being up and down, like so here, is called vertically, or the word specifically is vertical. So vertical means up and down. So make sure you fill that in. Remember, you can stop this at any time. You can fill in the blank. So some of you are looking at this going, there should be something above this too. I don't see it there. You can always add decimals after you can always add zeros after a decimal, always. So the first thing we're going to do here before we do any calculations is bring the decimal down. Very important. Follow the bouncing ball. Bring the decimal down. Very, very important. Do that first. If you do that first, the rest of the stuff doesn't get tangled up. Trust me. Drop the decimal first. All right. 2 and 0 is 2. 9 and 3 is 12. Carry your 1. 8 and 7 is 15 plus 1 is 16. So what did we do to add or subtract decimals? We line them up. Line them up, line them up, line them up. Okay, now that we got that refresher course, go back to your paper and here's your problem. So we've got our opposite length and width. We want to find the perimeter, which is the measure around the outside. So I need to add all these up, right? So I could add all 4 of them like this. Notice my decimals are lined up. So if you like that, you're welcome to do that. If this is the case, I got to fill my zeros in. So at this point, I'd like you to stop the tape and actually calculate this. So I drop my decimal down and I start doing some addition. I end up with this. If you don't have this, pause again, go back and try it again, see if you can check and see where your mistake was made. What I would do in this case, this is fine if you do it this way, what I would do is I would multiply this 11.02 or 11 and 200ths by 2 and this 8 and 2/10ths by 2 and then add those up. That seems a little quicker, more efficient for me. If it's not for you, you do it whichever way works for you. All right, can we find perimeter for any polygon? A polygon, make sure you write this down, is a many-sided figure. 3 or more sides. So the least amount of sides that a polygon can have are 3. So you're on to the second block here of your notes. What I would like you to do is go through and stop the tape, go through and see if you can label as many of those as you know their names. So go ahead and do that. All right, triangle is the first one. That should be pretty clear. This has 5 sides. This is a pentagon. Next one has 4 sides. There's more than one name for this. If the sides are equal, we can call it a rhombus. We'll come back to that one in a second. If all the sides of a shape are equal and we have 90-degree angles, it can be a square. And this one is a 4-sided figure where 2 of the sides, in this case it's the top and the bottom, we call those bases, where the bases are parallel. That is called a trapezoid. Let's go back to the rhombus for a minute. This rhombus could be called a couple other things. It could be called a quadrilateral. Anything with 4 sides is a quadrilateral, any shape. So the square is a quadrilateral, the trapezoid is a quadrilateral. This shape, this rhombus up here, could also be called a parallelogram. Parallelogram. Best name for this one's a rhombus because we're saying that all 4 sides are the same. What does parallel mean? Parallel means that this line runs the same distance as this line and they never touch. So they never get any closer together, never get any farther apart. Okay, so next. Question 1 says a rectangular room in McFilmey's house has a perimeter of 32 feet. One side of the room is 6 feet. How long is the other side? Well, your job here is going to be to draw the picture. Anytime you can, draw a picture. So we drew a rectangle. It says rectangular room, so we're going to draw that picture. If the perimeter is 32 feet, that means all the way around the outside is 32 feet. One side is 6 feet, so I'm going to label that one side 6 feet. I'm just picking a side. But if I say this side's 6 feet, the opposite side has to be 6 feet. Okay, great. So far I've used 6 here and 6 here. If I add those up, I get 12. So I got to find these other sides. Well, I've used up 12 out of the 32. So let's subtract the 12 from the 32. Because that's what I've used, right? I've used 6 here, subtract that from the 32. That gives me 20. Well, each of these sides is not 20 because I have 2 sides. So since I have 2 sides, I have to divide this 20 by 2 because there's 2 sides there. And we all know 20 divided by 2, 10 feet are what the other sides are. I'm going to circle that because I want everybody to know what my answer is. If that's confusing, stop, rewind, go check it out. At this point, I want you to check out this next one, and I want you to stop and see if you can do this one on your own. Go. So I'm going to quickly fill this in. I'm going to draw the shape. I'm going to label my 2 miles on each side. You could have labeled them on the length or the width. Either one is fine by me. It works itself out just the same. The 2 and 2 gives me 4. If I subtract that from 16, I end up with 12. So I have 12 left to split between this side and this side. That gives me 6, telling us that each of those sides are 6. Make sure you circle that, showing us which the answer is. So the rest of the page that we did not complete and the back will be worked on tomorrow in class. So if you feel good about it and you want to keep doing those, you're welcome to, but all you had to do today was watch the video, fill in those accordingly. And that is perimeter day 1.